All right, good evening, everybody. We're going to stand and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So this is the first meeting of the new select board. And protocol is we need to choose a board chair. Do I have any nominations for chair of select board?
I'd like to nominate Chris Cole to continue chairing select board.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Mr. Greeno seconds. Do I have any other nominations?
Nominate Bob Richards.
Mr. Richards is nominated. Do I have a second to nominate Mr. Richards? All right.
Can't do both.
You can't do both.
It would be rude for me to.
All right. Seeing none, I guess we'll take the vote. All in favor of nominating Chris Cole as the select board chair?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
One opposed?
Me.
Mr. Cole, congratulations.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
I'm very sorry, sir. What is your name?
What's that?
What is your name?
Jay Brown.
Jay Brown?
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, so it sounds like we have a special guest in the back there. So I wanted to hand it over to Danny, who's going to do the swearing in of our new pet mayor for the town of Fairhaven.
I just want to say I'm extremely allergic to anything with birds, so I can already feel myself going. Okay. Okay. All right, are you ready? And her name, I do have it right, it is Elsa. Okay? She's going to be a feisty one, I can tell. I, Elsa Murray, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of pet mayor for the state of Vermont and will hereby do equal right and justice to all persons to the best of my judgment and ability according to law, so help me God, under pains and penalty of perjury. All right, now it's your turn to say something.
No. that was our moment. First time.
I think she's rejected the office.
She nodded her head.
There you are. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we just want to thank you guys. I know the kids really enjoy this. My household, they've been talking about it for weeks now, who they're going to vote for, and it brings some excitement, and they start to understand the process of elections and all that. So I think it's a great project. So thank you guys.
I think the voting was pretty good too.
Yeah.
Going through the things here, there was a lot of votes cast down through here, so I think it's very popular. I think it's a very good thing for the town to be doing, and as you said, it gets the kids involved, and that's something you have to do today.
Anybody else? All right, thank you guys. Appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Thanks.
Under reorganization, there's other positions. So I believe the next one is clerk, correct?
Clerk?
Or the clerk, yes, not the secretary.
Right, it's the clerk.
I nominate Glenn Travis for clerk.
I'll second it. Motion by Jay, seconded by Bob to nominate Glenn as the clerk. Is there a second to that?
Yep.
Oh, sorry, Bob. Is there any other nominations is what I was, no. Okay, all in favor of that motion?
Aye.
That motion carries. Approve the board rules of procedure. So these are kind of the operating rules for the board. I don't believe they've changed in the last 4, 5, 6 years.
They were the rules that I inherited, and we've just continued to use them.
I think the only thing that's really something to discuss is the day, and personally, I think Tuesday's a good time at 7 o'clock. I think that's the only thing that's really in here that we have to look at.
That you'd want to change, or look at, not necessarily change.
Mhm.
Okay. Let's get a motion
I'll
and then
make
we
a
can,
motion to accept the Town of Fairhaven Select Board rules and procedures.
okay, is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Glenn, seconded by Jay to, adopt the select board rules of procedure. Questions on those? Changes, concerns? I think currently we're having here Tuesday evenings at 7 PM every other week. Is that still good for everybody?
Mhm.
Good to me.
Okay. Any other changes? Everybody good?
Good.
Okay, all in favor of that motion?
Aye.
That motion carries. Decided on that. A paper of record. Lakes Region Free Press.
Yeah, so we need the newspaper dedicated so that way folks know where we'll see their postings for tax sales and advertising from the town and,
Do we have to have more than one?
just the one.
Just the one?
So I'll make a motion to continue using the Lake Region's Free Press as our paper of record.
Okay, second. Motion by Glenn to, set the Lakes Region Free Press as our paper of record. That was seconded by Bob. Discussion on that?
We can still use like the Rutland Herald for some like the tax sales and things like that.
Yes, we currently have an accountant position in the Rutland Herald that just showed up today. As a matter of fact.
Just so, I mean, it just, because there's so, a lot of times that's a little broader, area of paper.
Good.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries. Now, Joe, there are other positions, right? Are we gonna do those at the next meeting, or are we gonna solicit folks for those positions?
The appointed positions?
Yeah.
Yep, so I've reached out to, I think most of the incumbents in those positions. Most are still willing to serve. But yeah, we will be posting that on Facebook and probably on the website, just to see if anybody's interested.
Okay.
We'll start that at the next meeting, get through as many as we can, and then wrap it up in early April.
Okay. Everybody fine with doing that? There's no
Can't wait to be
pressing
a
ones.
fence sitter.
You wanna be the fence viewer again? Perfect.
There was a lot of excitement around fence viewing.
Amendments to the agenda?
I have one, I would like to move, article under new business, Article B. I'd like to have that moved into executive session just before the board roundtable.
I'll second that.
Any other changes or, needed? Did we get a motion or not to amend? I can't. Did we do that?
Motion for,
You
You
motioned
made the
for the
motion,
changes.
motion to
To amend.
amend, Article.
You just wanna
Article
move
four-
that.
Yeah, Article B.
Yep.
Into an executive session,
Okay.
after,
Yep.
just before board roundtable.
Gotcha. Okay.
What is Article B?
Town clerk MOU.
Memorandum of understanding.
Elected position.
Yeah, I'm not
Which-
real sure that
which-
it's executive session.
Well, the reason why I'm asking for that, I think that the board, since it's a new board, we should have had a chance to read over the procedure first before it was let out. I mean, I think we should be able to discuss it.
So Bob, I did talk to our lawyer, not VLCT, and it's permissible to go into executive session for an elected official.
Yes.
Yeah.
Under one.
I had that same question because it seemed wrong, but no, they said it's,
Yeah.
It's not like we're gonna make a decision, we just want to be able to discuss what's there and then, be able to present it from a board, from the whole board.
We would go in under one VSA 313A3, and any decision would have to be done in
An open
an open
session.
meeting after we come out. But that's definitely,
Okay.
And Danny talked to me before the meeting. She's not ready today to discuss with the board as well, so
Well,
I think it
that's
gives
right.
us some time.
And I think that work out good, and then the next time we can get whatever we feel and then we can have Danny come in.
Yeah, that
And
seems fine.
it's easier to go through it before we get the whole group together, so we don't, there's not a lot of bickering. I don't wanna see any, I just wanna make sure that
That
it's,
seems fine.
Could, and I only have a comment, instead of doing it before board roundtable, we already have an executive session on the agenda.
do it then.
Can we add it to the, so when we go into executive session at the end of the meeting just once and we
that's,
cover both
that's fine with
items?
me.
Would that change?
As long as Danny's not gonna be involved, that makes more sense, okay.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor of the amendment to the agenda?
Aye.
Motion carries. Approval of the minutes from February 22nd. And I know Joe did get an opinion on this as well, even though the majority of the board wasn't the board then. This board can make a motion to approve.
Good thing, there's only two.
Right, so,
Go ahead.
so I was going to get us started down that road, I'll
You're
make a
gonna make
motion to approve the minutes of February 22nd as written.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Glenn, seconded by Jay to approve the February 22nd minutes. Corrections or changes needed on those? I didn't see any, they seemed.
So do we have to, or we don't, we just accepted them and so we're good?
Alright, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. 5 minutes for public comment. John, go ahead.
Lake Valley Unified School District budget vote was, we counted today, and there were 861 no votes and 853 yes votes, so but it's still a defeated article. And the next vote on that article will be on Wednesday, April 13th.
Okay, anything else, John? Neil?
Yeah, just an added comment on our new pet mayor. I don't know whether you realize it or not, but it made USA Today's top story of the day for the entire state. That's quite a compliment. You're talking about the largest, by far, publication in the United States, so it's starting off great. Congratulations, guys.
Perfect. Anybody else for public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to department head reports. Bill, do you want to do the police department?
Sure. I put a 2-week report in everybody's box, not everybody got it out of their mailbox. Just a quick rundown, we had 6 arrests in the last 2 weeks. Domestic assault, simple assault, violation conditions release, that was 1 suspect. Driving suspended license. The 2 petty larcenies were the same suspect, 2 different offenses at Stewart for gas drive off. The leaving scene of motor vehicle accident was for, if you saw the damage to the shrubs in front of the free library over here, the officer did really well, tracked her down within an hour. He got her to turn himself in a week later. He had made contact with her and impounded the car within an hour. Then we had a wanted person, again, wanted for no license. For the judge, we gave him a citation to appear the next day. Doesn't make sense to me, but those are the rules we're playing right now. As far as motor vehicle enforcement and other municipal violations, we wrote 69 traffic tickets and municipal violations, which include the junk violations and dog tickets. Wrote 30 written warnings and 4 parking violations. We issued 9 overweight permits. We did 21 sets of civilian prints at $20 a piece. I had 2 officers, one starting the 16th year, he's a part-time officer, Jason Vandenberg, and Sean Galvin began his 24th year with the town. He's been since 1998. And miscellaneous, we had an untimely death investigation on Washington Street. I started issuing junk tickets again to the trailer park and to Adams Street. We had only had 1 car crash in the last 2 weeks and 2 EMS assists.
Yeah, go ahead.
Bill, on that, Adams Street deal. I mean, that's, we've been going on, I mean, I know you've been trying, you wrote citations after citations to him. What else can we do there?
Well, I think the board as a whole acted as the Board of Health in the last section of board, the last board, and they, with John's help, and they issued a health order. So this is trying to amp that back up, because they made some progress and then it stopped. So
Okay.
we started issuing tickets again as a reminder, like, hey, it's not done. And then at some point, the board would have to do some legal action and continue that path.
Do they ever pay the tickets that,
They have paid some of them gone to default. We try to keep track of what's paid, what's not paid. And Joe could fill you in a little bit more on that. I don't know if that's public or not. He can say, there's some legal action and it might be executive session.
so anyway, we have, with the health officer involved now, we have more of a push on it, maybe?
Yeah, they did a public health order, and the board could fill you in on what they did that last
Okay.
year. But, so that's why you saw some of the stuff being moved.
Okay.
And there's some threatening, not threatening, but so the board can take some further legal action. Again, Joe could fill you in on that. I don't really know that side of it, I just know
Right.
the enforcement.
As long as there's some progress down there, because that's such a mess down there.
It does look a little better than it was. I mean, it's,
I just shuffle it around.
Well, you're just used to it. If somebody goes down there that hasn't been there in a while, you
absolutely.
know, so.
But we did have the public hearing, they made progress, and it's kind of reverting back is what it appears now to.
Yeah, that's the same with the trailer park. I started to do a little progress. One of the tenants did move out and left all the stuff there, so now it's really back onto the, he was probably the worst offender down there. So I wrote some more violations to the estate, sent them to the executor of the estate, hoping that would prod them to start cleaning out. A lot of it's just scrap, so hopefully they can get together and make a little progress on that. Again, at least you can get in the driveway now. After that one tenant moved out, you can go in and out without them sucking up half the lane, cars and junk cars, and operating a scrap business out of there. But I'm trying. It's a really hard, there's not a lot of teeth to the problem. You write the tickets and then they go out, and then you never hear anything back. So it's kind of,
Yeah. Questions for the police department and police chief? Huh?
What do you hear about dispatch services in the state?
there's a thing that I will email you. I just got it from Terry White. So there's $11 million in, Commissioner of Public Safety lobbied the governor to put $11 million in this budget to prop up regional centers. Rutland is targeted as a regional center. There's a working group that has been meeting, but there's been nobody stepped up to say, like, I stepped up and say, okay, we'll take it. You know, I mean, there's nobody, Rutland City and the sheriffs both have already established centers, but they're really leery on taking on that, because say we got on and they charged us X amount of dollars. Well, if we just say, we're gonna go to the sheriffs, because you're paying less, then that agency still has to fund that. It seems, this is my standpoint, that all the state is doing is kicking the can over to the municipalities, because they're having staffing issues. Well, today, I talked to Terry Williams. I talked to him, he's on the Fulton Select Board, and I had a conversation with him also. Is the problem I can see happening is, but there's no county government, there's no tax base, so it's gonna, the governor doesn't want new taxes and fees. Well, if you force these regional centers and then the $11 million runs out, so who funds it next year? It's gonna go back on each individual town to reach out to start charging police, fire, EMS in every town to have to pay. So that's gonna be a new tax and fee. Like I thought about today, I can envision it being the same problem that we have with the municipal department. Is we hire dispatchers, we train them, get them up and running, and then they go to the state to make more money and have better benefits. So I don't see how this is gonna work, and it's just me, and I've been raising the flag, and I seem to be the negative guy, but there's no entity to support it unless Rutland City steps up and say, we'll take it. But then they're on the hook for the benefits and the retirement, not the towns. It's whoever the entity that takes it. So I don't really have a good answer. I know that Canfield approached me the other day. He's been working with Collimore, and I don't think they're for it either. VLCT is for it in the theory of it, but I don't think that the representative told me there's devil in the details. The funding, there's no funding for it. And so I've been pushing back. Like, we pay now, we already pay state taxes for that service. The way the state is designed, there is, again, I'm going to stress again, there's no county government. If we're then instituting a county government tax to support an entity like that, But what is next from the state? Do they force county jails because they're overcrowded and you can't staff it? I mean, what is the next thing once this gets open? So I would implore you guys, and I will give you as much, or as much as I can, and I think Joe has the stuff from the VLCT written up, that maybe you guys have a voice too to say, no. You know, and sometimes I look at it as a double standard, and I push this back to them. I said, you're gonna force smaller PDs out of business. And who's gonna pick up we're at 600 calls right now. It's March, the state police. They have 2 guys trying to cover the county. They can't pick up the slack either. So towns like here have decided there's a large call volume. They created a police department to handle our own problems, and then now we're being penalized, it seems like, because if that makes sense to anybody.
It does, we subsidize the state in that area all the time, so, yeah.
Where are you dispatched out of now, Bill?
It's actually Westminster. We call Rutland on the radio, but it's just
Just goes to.
From Westminster, from where they moved everything.
And that was my argument, other thing that I'm trying to get back is there was some rumor they might reopen Rutland and Derby and go back to the 4, because we kept telling them that was gonna fail when they closed it. The commissioner has admitted that that's failed. So that would be my thought, is take your 11 million, open those 2 centers to alleviate the pressure. You have a hiring pool in Rutland, there were 17,000 people live in the city, and then when you add all the surrounding, your hiring pool's here. Why would you move a business out of a large thing to Westminster that has a population of Paula? You know, you're not gonna be able to staff that. They're losing people to go to Keene, because they make more money just across the border. It's just, it seems like a no-win situation. And I don't know how, I'm one little guy trying to fight
But
the machine.
we are good for this year.
Yeah, and we're good this year, and then I don't know what next year, there would be funding for next year too. Like I said, if this center gets propped up, and no idea, Aaron was on the working group, he might give a little more idea of where they've gone to the next step. That's his role as the fire chief. But
The last meeting, they moved into agreement to sign a grant, letter of support for a grant for Rutland County Sheriffs to possibly get 6 consoles. So it sounds like Rutland County Sheriff might be picking it up. It sounds like our next meeting is supposed to be with Side Judge Bernard to talk about a county tax option on it.
And like where I was going at, the side judges could set a tax that says everybody would pay, you know, a certain percentage, you know, it might be pennies on the dollar, to support that center. Like I said, thanks, Aaron, I didn't get to get a chance to the last, meeting. So I guess that's where we're at now. It looks like the sheriff's might take anything on.
And Bill, it's something that has to be done within the state. Like, we couldn't, say, bordering towns couldn't partner up with Washington County and
Well, we have the fire departments now on this side all pay Washington County, but I know when I talked, I got a rough estimate from their deputy director. He said their budget for the county is 1.2 million. And they're almost identical to us in what they do, police, fire, and the number of PDs and the number of fire departments and ambulances, and that's what they're paying. But they were skeptical as far as like taking us with having them run criminal histories for us, or because it's cross lines. So I don't know. I mean, I would like to go over there. I think the service is better. Their dispatchers know our area better than the ones in Westminster. I mean, if I say I know I'm on Grape Street, dispatchers in Washington County know where it is. Westminster's clueless. No knock on them, but they're just so far away.
Yeah. Okay. Other questions for Bill? All right, thank you. Aaron, DPW.
For the year, 225 events, storm events that we've required service for, 54 total inches of snow. We used approximately 684 tons of salt, and about 450 yards of sand to date. Like I said, continuing with the rain / a little bit of icing here and there. The snow totals don't add up considerably, but we still have to get out and unfortunately use the expensive salt. Cold patching on the days we can get out there to do that. The rain's played a factor in that. Of course, you fill the hole in the rains tomorrow, the hole's back open, so we chase them as fast as we can. Last couple weeks, the playground equipment, the guys were down there during break getting the majority of that removed. There's still some smaller stuff we have to get dug out of the ground. Some of the concrete that's left and such like that. Get it prepared for hopefully, it sounds like April installation of the new gear. The week before last, the boys were down and helped get the generator placed, down at Adams Street Pump Station on the pad. That's hooked up electrically, still waiting on, files to be able to come down and hook up the propane of it, so we can actually fire that generator up to run that pump station. Once we know that generator's all set to go, we can make the call to get the new control panel put in down there. The contractor we have the agreement with on that is been storing that control panel and been anxiously waiting a date to put it in. Hoping that this weekend they're calling for a few inches of snow. Hopefully they blow that off and we just get a little bit of rain, but we'll see how it comes. Trucks and equipment have been getting maintained in between storms as we have them. The last 6-inch storm or whatever it was went through the whole storm very well. The night we did cleanup, so the guys left about 3-4 that afternoon after the snow stopped, came back in just after midnight to do all of our usual cleanup, and we got through the whole storm, and then that night I was in before them a little earlier doing the cleanup down street with the loader. Then by the end of morning, whenever about 7 o'clock, my phone started ringing. Some of the trucks were having issues, so we were able to get all of them back together and up and running again now. So, but we were grateful that they went all the way through the event. It just during cleanup they didn't want to finish today. So, water department new chlorine analyzer is up and running. So very nice to know that that's going to keep going instead of the old one that they were babying through the last week or so, trying to get that new one in, so we don't have to guy up there every 4 hours taking chlorine measurement to make sure we're meeting permit. Chief Operator Mike LeDuc is here. He has participated in a utility ICS NIMS training, and then the next month or so he's going to be taking the ICS 300, 400 level classes. It helps us with FEMA and with the EPA, knowing that we know ICS for emergency events and all that type of stuff. A few new water meters in, the biggest ones being the Welcome Center. We have meters in down there now that we can read with the radio read system. Wastewater plant on the sewer side, still going forward. A few pieces of equipment still are getting, every day we get a week closer to them being delivered. They get pushed off a few more days. Over the last few weeks, we have put a few more major pieces of equipment online. Monday alone was a return sludge pump, which is a big part of the process down there. So we were able to finally get a new one in that replaced one of the old ones that it didn't perform like it should. If you lowered its return on it down too far, it would trip out on you and be done. So you were always finicking trying to keep it running as best as you could. So they're pleased with that. Over the next month, there is a lot more stuff that is going to come online, but as I said, there's a few bigger items that even after today they were saying they're April 1st ship dates. So hopefully they don't hold us up too bad. Tomorrow is our monthly meeting with the engineers, USDA, the contractor, and ourselves, going over their requisition for the month's worth of work. Any troubles anyone's having with any planning, scheduling, or otherwise. The only continuation would be Adams Street. Hopefully we get files in yet this week, if not early next week, to get that generator fed with some propane so we can fire it up, see how she does. Other than that, I don't have, back to highway real quick. I did have Joe sign the MRGP letter to send to A&R, certifying what we've done, what we did through MRGP grants last year, and where we're at in regards to meeting the permit. We're meeting the permit exemplarily. We have quite a few segments that are out of compliance due to invalid data. The Rutland Regional Planning Commission is hoping to be out this summer to review that data and see what's wrong, what needs to be changed on it, so it's valid data, so they can say whether or not the segments meet the criteria or not. The biggest thing is a lot of them go to storm drain outlets, and those storm drain outlets were not surveyed. So once they get surveyed, either we'll be dropping off, like, I think there's 58 total segments with the 6 storm drains. And you know, if one storm drain doesn't meet, it might be 10 segments that don't meet, and if another one meets, it might be 20 segments right off that list that meet the criteria. Storm storm drain ones are fairly easy. Usually we did 2 this year. All it is finding where that dumps out on the ground and usually cleaning up around it and putting a bunch of stone riprap around it so it slows the water down leaving that pipe. So it should be fairly simple and straightforward. Other than that, the only other thing Joe had wanted me to do, I had put together the plow routes for how the trucks respond, the drivers respond to storms. One second here. So we put together the list names of the roads and what the trucks were themselves that are on those roads. Both the maps, and I have the maps drawn up over the town map and the urban compact road maps, as well as a document with the truck that is responsible for that route. The way we have it laid out. So there's the urban compact itself, is showing basically the downtown area as well as you know. The red route is the truck number 1's route. That's what we call the main run. That's the first priority in all storm events. The hill down here on Main Street, Washington Street, Prospect Street, River, West and 4th are the main route. That's one truck's responsibility. The green, you see River Street, and then Airport Road. That green one is the truck number 2 route. That's the outside route. That is the second priority roads. So Scotch Hill, River Street, Green, Marhar, Bigelow, Inman, Airport, Sheldon, Swamp, and Green and Bolger. Both the red and the green are the big single axle trucks. Go back to the urban compact. The orange is what we call the north side. That's one of the 550s, or it's the Ram that covers that one. That would be the 3rd priority for a regular storm event. Of course, if it's a regular storm event, all 4 trucks are out at the same time, doing the beats at the same time. Those orange roads are the responsibility of that truck. Include, of course, Carnarvon, Allen High, 1st, 2nd, Pelkey, 3rd, Mechanic, Pine, High, Benson Lane, Woodland, this away, that away, Freight, Phelps, all that north side stuff there. The blue stuff is the 550, we call that the south side, and a lot of the little dirts is what that one covers. So they start out down by the barn, Liberty, Maple Cottage, Adams, Marble, Crippen, and then down to the south side of town. Academy and all them.
Are they pretty evenly hours per route?
Yes, the one that turns around fastest is the red one, the main run. That's the one that turnaround on that one's a little bit faster than the rest. But usually that works out, and you'll hear us during a storm if you do have a scanner or have the radio. They'll be yelling at each other all day long. Where you at? How you making out? And the red one, Nate's usually on that beat. You'll hear him jump out. He'll jump out probably quite a few times a storm, trying to catch somebody up if they're a little bit behind, as long as that main run's doing fine. The main run, the big deal for us is the hill. Main Street Hill, South Main Hill, Prospect. Keeping those open, because once you get the car too bottled up on that, it makes for a nightmare, because our trucks can't get around either, so. After that, the outside, so the green line, that machine, that one's about the longest turnaround time, just due to the distance it has to travel to get those roads. That turnaround for him is about 3 hours, whereas the rest at about, everyone is usually about 3 hours on their turnaround for one pass.
Good.
Of course, different storms.
It's dependable,
A little bit of a modified response depending on what the storm is acting like and how many trucks are available.
All set, Aaron? Questions for DPW?
Just a couple comments. Fourth Street did a nice, your DPW guys did a nice job of patching those holes. Today, they were getting a little deep.
They're
so-
deep.
So good. And more, and because I see we have water here tonight, here, we were getting down, I think, one time to about 30 meters left to put in or something like that. I was wondering, how are we doing, and do you need anything from us as a board to help you get over the finish line?
I guess just to kind of back us up as far as the fines goes for not making an appointment.
Okay,
We are down, I believe it's 32, not counting the vacant properties that town owns, that type of thing.
mm-hmm,
So we are getting down to the very few. They just refuse to make an appointment to get them changed out. We've been going at this now for almost 3 years. Everybody in town knows it's getting done and it needs to be done. So I don't know why they're not making the appointment to get it done.
All residential or any commercial?
The couple of commercial ones that are left,
Yeah.
we know about, and they will be towards the end, just because they're bigger meters.
Bigger meters?
As you know, like the
Yeah.
high school just got a brand new old meter
Yeah.
per se. And we have Skyline that we haven't really discussed yet, because, everybody, it's got the old 4-inch water meter in it. When Skyline was there, they needed that.
Yeah.
Do we really need to put another 4-inch meter in there now? So that's a discussion for down the road, but that'll be one of the last ones.
Okay. Other questions?
What is the excuse for these folks not making the appointment to have it done? Is there a reason? or-
I don't know. I mean, when we first started this, we were banging on doors, trying to get in and out of places, and some people just don't answer their door. We're very flexible. I mean, I replaced McDonald's at 4 o'clock in the morning before they opened. I've stayed late, so, I mean, we're very flexible. Saturdays, Sundays, there's really no excuse not to have them done.
yeah, and they'll, well,
Do you have to go to each individual house on these 32 to read the meters, or can you still do it with your machine?
No, it's still the old way.
It's manual.
Yeah, so you have to make contact with the house.
Yeah.
That's expensive on itself.
Is there a individual fee, or could we add an individual fee?
We put it on the, parking lot for discussion.
Yeah.
The thing right now is, we're not pushing hard, because if we have to get into doing a place where we need to shut the water off at the curb stop,
Yeah.
with the frost and the ground stuff, we'd rather wait until we get spring. But if we left it on the round table, or the parking lot, so we get a little warmer here, I definitely would implore,
Take a
waterfront
look
for
at it.
sure, would be to, let's take up some sort of a fee, or, you haven't changed your meter out. This is what's gonna cost you, not to get it changed out, and make it worth their while to call
Change it.
Mike and get it done ASAP.
it's, and the reason I ask is, it's not fair that everyone else complied. Non-compliance shouldn't be rewarded by not getting it done. We're at a point where compliance isn't going to be shouldn't be an option. Okay,
And most meters, as they, will leave it be.
yeah,
As
yeah,
they
yeah.
do it, they slide the wrong way.
Mhm.
Well, continue with what you're doing, and then if you
Mhm.
need some more
That's good.
support, you can look at the ordinance and see if there's any thing we can do there. Other questions for Aaron?
So one question on that, is it, would we have to, if we're changing, putting 8 feet to that, do we have to have it posted for so many days and all that jazz, and maybe we need to start sooner than later on that?
More than likely, probably.
Well,
We'd have to give fair warning.
Yeah.
When's the next billing go out? I think those just went out, so.
Just went out, I didn't get mine yet.
March so there's not another one until June.
Yeah, so we could let folks know. We can
Well,
do
I think maybe just a letter to all the people that are not,
compliant.
that saying that, here we come, and at least give them an option to comply finally.
Sure.
But if not, tell, they're warned that something's
Okay.
gonna happen.
Okay. All right, thanks, Aaron. Town manager?
Bill and Aaron stole all my thunder, so this should be fast.
So in your packets, just as a heads up, every year I put together a calendar of those important days meaning Board of Selectmen meetings, when the budgets are coming through, both water and general fund budgets. And when processes start and stop, so you'll see things like Eileen distributes paperwork, Joe starts this, this happens, so. If you ever have a question on what's going on in terms of that kind of thing, that's there, and you can always give me a call.
Can we talk about that just for a second?
Sure.
You know what I'm gonna say.
I don't.
This would be nice from you. Something like this, or added to this. You know, just the highlights of what you're planning. I know everything, as soon as you make a plan, it blows up in your face, but it would be nice to know and just so we can anticipate.
We started using, kind of a,
It's a monthly schedule, and yeah, it has been updated. I'll get that to the board as well.
That would be great.
It's all year broken out by month, tasks that are up.
It's a,
Thanks.
and he's got a project management tracking too that he's using now, so I think that's probably would be helpful.
Yeah, that's all we need. I mean, I know it's not set in stone, it can't be, but.
If I could piggyback on the meters, those new meters have been a real boon for us with folks that find leaks or just are using a ton more water because they have guests. We're quickly able to pull up their data and give them the days and times and let them know they're having leaks. Since we put those in, we've had dozens of people say thank you because they have a leak. Just recently, a guy left his garden hose running when it got warm. He went outside and was tinkering, came back inside, forgot it was running, and it ran for a week and change. So we sent him a letter saying, hey, by the way. So he was appreciative. It's working really well. To the health order that we talked about earlier, down on Adams Street, those folks have been served by the court. The health order is telling them to get out of the house. They have to leave the house, clean the house, and if they don't do that, it's a $10,000 fine each day that they're there. So we've been asking for several years and they've ignored us. They have paid most of their junk tickets, the tickets for their junk vehicles. A few they haven't, and that property is liened by the town of Fairhaven. So we're coming at it from a couple different directions, and they're out of options at this point.
Are they current on their taxes or no?
They made a point to tell me we paid all our taxes. So yes. Another troublesome property that we were dealing with, this property down on 4th and Mechanic, the old wing property. I met with Chris Howe in the Addison probate to get that moving again. A special administrator was put on that job, so hopefully we'll see. That property owes something like $16,000 in back taxes. So hopefully we'll be seeing a check here pretty soon for that. The judge was, when we told her it was such a problem home, she was adamant that she would take care of it quickly. So we appreciate that. We should have been talking about the trash disposal contract this week. The Hubbard brothers were unable to get their disposal numbers. So I put it off for another week. I hope that's okay with the board. I'd ask for some advice. What if we don't get numbers again? Should we push it off again, or should we?
When does the contract run out with Casella?
It's later, yeah, up till July.
So we have time.
We do.
Was the bid incomplete, obviously?
The bid was incomplete.
Should it have been rejected?
The board can do what they want. It seems like we've given Hubbard fair warning and enough time. It doesn't seem fair to keep kicking the can to say, hey, try harder.
Because there was another bidder on it, correct?
There was. So I'll put it on the agenda, I guess, for the next meeting, and the board can make decision on it if that works. Yep. Oh, Mayor, you met the mayor. That was great. Talking about Green Up this year. Green Up is May 7th, and we're looking for a new Green Up coordinator. If anybody's interested in the town of Fairhaven, please feel free to give me a call or shoot me an email. Bonnie Rosati, she's reluctantly resigned from the organizing, the coordinator position. She's been doing it for 10 years, and she didn't want to, but she had to give that up. We saw the mayor. The accountant job has been posted for the town of Fairhaven. Oh, if we could talk about Mr. Hamilton, who's sitting here on the table. Mr. Hamilton came to us from the attorney DeBonis Wright and something, I think, out of Poultney.
Lynn Petty, right?
Paris.
Karis.
Oh, Karis. And we were requested to bury Mr. Hamilton. He doesn't have any family to pay his tab. I was hoping the board could waive the $250 internment fee.
I'll make a motion, we do.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Motion by Jay, seconded by Glenn to waive the fee or to pay for the fee. What is it?
Waive.
I think we
Waive
waive
it.
it.
Okay.
The fee goes to the town of Fairhaven.
Yeah.
It's the man has been dead since 1985, and he has no family.
His wife is still waiting for him.
Yeah, his wife is. They have a plot in Cedar Grove,
All right.
so it's not like we've lost anything.
Yeah, no. All right, all in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Thank you, guys. We'll put Mr. Hamilton in his rightful spot, April or May.
All right.
Oh, Hubbard Brothers. We still have training scheduled for Nemrick on the 10th. Just as a heads up, we're still doing a lot of cross training in prep for turnover. And the solar lease project, I think we talked about it. No, we haven't talked about this yet. So the solar lease project is going in at the transfer station. That project brings us $1,000 a year right now during construction. After that installation becomes operable, it's $9,000 a year. And once it is going, we signed on 2 years ago to purchase the electricity at a reduced cost. So we'll be bringing in revenue as well as reducing our cost for electricity. So it's really a win-win for the town. The playground, Aaron and I met with the installer for the pre-construction meeting yesterday. They did bump back the shipment of our equipment till 4/14, so we're not looking for an installation date until mid to late April on that. And that is what I have for the board today.
Questions for the town manager?
Got some questions about the WCAX that was here today set up front. Was that for Mr. Hamilton?
It was, they did
Just so people want to know why WCAX.
Yeah, wasn't on.
Oh, wasn't it?
how was it?
Great, except I waited an hour and a half to see it.
To see it.
Me too.
Good,
She did a very good job.
good.
No questions for Joe? All right, thank you, Joe. Old business, ARPA discussion. Joe, do you want to explain the process and kind of where you've been working at with all the different committees and
Sure.
employee groups and?
I've actually created a super sweet PowerPoint just to get us going. So this is the first meeting for ARPA suggestions. Very briefly, this is what we're going to be talking about, what we're doing here, what ARPA is about, how we can use those funds, suggestions people have provided. So I guess the question everybody's asking why we're here, it's pretty basic. If you're here for ARPA, then you're here to tell the select board how you want those funds to be spent. That's always great. ARPA is the American Rescue Plan Act, and Fairhaven received $760,000 from the federal government, which is a significant sum of money for us. And the big question always is, what can we use those funds for? The federal government finally laid out, gave the final rule, and that on the screen is the list of things that we can use those funds for. The caveat on this, not to muddy the waters, but the revenue replacement, I think is a $10 million cap. Revenue replacement is kind of the catch-all. If you if we allocate all of that money to that line item, you can use that money for anything you want to.
Quick question.
Please hold.
Okay.
One more. Okay, these are the folks that, that provided suggestions. We reached out to most of the groups, or all of the groups that we can think of, and they all offered, some suggestions were similar across the board. The town website was one of them that hit, what, 2 or 3 or 4 times. And lastly, so there was a handout, two-pager with all the suggestions. This was everything that everybody had suggested to the board, and I'm sorry, Jay.
Could we add onto this wish list, taking care of the fence in the park, paint it, make sure the rails are taken care of, and get the painting done as early as we can, so it's nice for Memorial Day?
Under Historical Society, like you're saying, make a number 6, paint the park?
Either that or that
Fence?
itty bitty committee one, I don't care which one it's under.
The only reason I put under Historical, because they're the ones who had the effort to put the fence in there, so I'm saying I can
Okay,
understand.
that's fine, that's fine.
What do you estimate that would be?
I
know we
believe
talked
they
about
said it was
7.
estimated at 75, right? 7,500?
About 7.
7,000.
Well, in that area.
We've lost that painter.
So could we,
He's already rebooked, so
Could-
I don't know.
could you put in like a, you know, like say 6,500 to 8,000? So you got something to go back and forth on?
Sure, yeah, you spend it how
I
you
just
want.
think that's an important, one of the important things here for, and it's a minor project, it's a small one, but it's really something that has to be done. If somebody goes in there and one of the rails are bad and somebody falls over the rail.
So why don't we add 8 in that line?
Yeah,
Another 6?
you know, that's my suggestion.
All right.
Can we add to that? I think
Sure.
it's not just that the rails are broken. It's very important to our town when people drive in and see that fence. And there's strict rules that the property was given to us. So we need to take care of it.
Joe, in total, did you happen to total all of these?
I did not. But so all of the money that, I can tell you that the money that, in our wish list here is well over 760,000. So some projects are 500. Paving could be 650 to well over $1 million.
Yeah, I figured it up real quick, it was about 3 times.
3 times as much.
But getting back to that fence, I walked, the last meeting I was here, and that very next day, I walked that entire fence. The fence is in remarkably good shape for being pressure-treated lumber and the age of it. There's some cracks in it, but that doesn't jeopardize the strength of it, because that's pressure-treated lumber. That's the characteristics of pressure-treated lumber. And there's one rail that I would change, because it's got a big old gnarly knot in it. It sticks right up where somebody could cut their hand on it. I wouldn't have put it in brand new the day it was delivered, that one rail. But that's the only one I could see that I would actually switch out. It needs to be mold, cleaned in Clorox and painted, but other than that, it's in good shape. And I agree, it does need painting. I mean, it is starting to get unsightly, but it's in no way unsafe. That, in my opinion.
Okay. So these are the suggestions. I know there's folks here from individual committees. It's a public hearing, so the board really needs to kind of listen to the public, see what you guys are really thinking. We've heard the park fence. I know there's other items, webpage. Are there other items that?
On the park fence,
Yeah.
the guy that was gonna paint that wanted to stain it.
It is staying on it.
Right.
Well, that's what you do with
Not
pressure
paint,
treated.
stain.
Yeah.
not
Usually.
painted.
Neil?
Yeah, I'm here on behalf of the Energy Committee. And as far as I know, we never made a suggestion to get funding.
Yeah.
And I'm here for that purpose. we're dealing with, as you know, hydro and also solar. And the thing about both of those projects, you're talking about projects that will return revenue to the town of Fairhaven. Big time, especially the hydro. And we would have more information for you on the hydro had we not had a wet November. Because of all things, that was when they took their lowest flow and they weren't able to take it because that was. So that would have been part and parcel of the engineering study, which needs to be updated a little bit. But anyway, what I'm saying is that, yeah, we're here to join your suggestion on this. We could show documentation of where we're coming from, of course. One of the interesting things that has happened is that when the study was done on all of the public entities that would benefit from the kilowatt hours, the largest user was the greatest by far, well over 50%. Well, folks, we don't know, we no longer own the greatest. That makes a huge difference, simply because that grading school is part of the consolidated union. In other words, their percentage would be much lower because it would be divided by other participating members of the union. So in effect, our picture will look better. And I presume that the kilowatt hour type of thing is probably increased simply because flows are greater. But again, I wanted to make a presentation to be added to your list of suggestions, and we're more than happy to follow up with whatever data you'd want, where we're at, what our expectations are, et cetera, et cetera.
Are there specifics, Neil? Like,
Are
there specifics like engineering studies that are needed, or?
Well, I'm sure there's gotta be an update on
The update of that.
However, most of it, frankly, was history. Really, other than the flow rate and the opinion of the engineer and giving the different scenarios at that time for which one he would recommend, and where the location would be, et cetera. All that stuff is going to be the same. So I think the big thing is getting an updated engineering study on the flow rate. There may be something else. I don't pretend to be an engineer, but it seems to me that's what we're looking at. And the other thing that obviously is very interesting, back when we had this all done and we thought we were shovel ready and all that, all of the federal funding dried up. And grants weren't available. Now we're in just an opposite situation. We're sitting on a lot of money in the state, and here we are. It's just flip-flop. Where before we were seeking funding, couldn't get it. Now we're going locally to get some of that funding, and probably, I would think, statewide, we have an excellent chance. Simply because, as far as I know, we are still only 1-2 sites left in the whole state that never really tore down an existing dam. And once you do that, apparently they don't allow any more dams to be built. Correct me if I'm wrong on anything I'm saying, Bob, because you know more about this than I do.
Go ahead, Jim.
Do you have a estimate or a figure on what you'd like to put in here for maybe just number, how much money you're looking for, or?
Well, that would be, I knew you were gonna ask that, because you did that deliberately, didn't you? No, I don't. No, I don't.
Well, you're not gonna
I'll be honest
build,
with
he's
you.
not
You
gonna
know,
build a plant for
Right, yeah.
760.
Well, obviously, one of the big problems we got into is that, how the hell do you estimate what construction costs are?
Yeah. I mean,
That's gonna be huge.
I was looking at something like if you have to do some more, research, or if you have to do some more funding, or if you have to do, have more engineers come in and look. I mean, everybody, it all costs money.
Yeah,
we
you're
could-
right.
I mean,
We
if we
have-
had just some kind of an idea to
Yeah.
put here, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, what we probably should have had, and we have a meeting on Friday, we'll try try to get numbers. But the first things are, updated engineering study, that kind of, and, the cost of maybe having, we talked once to the board about right of first refusal. So we need to get those two things. So those are, that's, the last study cost, I think it was $5,000, the last engineering study. So we're, if you say $6,000 or $7,000, it's probably not unreasonable for the very beginning, but then, there are larger costs, but obviously, we're not gonna get it all out of it, $760,000.
And of course, the other thing that's occurred that wasn't present, when we had the study done, Green Mountain Power was not very excited about anything to do with hydro, anything like that. Then all of a sudden, we got a national award for being the greenest still. And they're into the green movement. Well, that's great for us, because what's greener than hydro? It's, historically, it has created energy for towns. Years ago, that was the core of their electricity. Now we're left with a dam that never was really taken down, and are eligible for these COVID funds. So I'll wrap it up with that and say it's really a great scenario that's occurred through nothing that we did, but that's the way the state has gone, and okay.
All right, so we'll have Joe can add those items to the
Yeah,
list
thank
here,
you.
so they're in
Thank you
there.
for the opportunity to
Alright.
get add to the list. I foolishly thought we were on it. I don't talk to bad vision.
Good to see it up there.
I saw nothing.
All right.
But anyway, thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Seal.
I'm not sure if anybody's put it in, but I'll speak for the Country in the Park Committee. I know that we've gotten grant money for lighting in the park, but we've been interested in putting lights down Main Street as well.
Yeah.
And I know that even though we got grant funded, that was pre-COVID kind of money. And I know that whatever award we got will not cover the cost of putting lights in the park. And we had actually hoped that this summer they would be in. We know that that's probably not gonna be the case, so.
Is that what you, under the manager's suggestion, when you said complete inflation impacted grants, like the Salt Shed Town Hall, possibly lighting in the park and ride and sidewalk? Is that, the lighting, the only thing I think we missed was, you were saying the other lighting,
We have, the itty bitty committee has talked, we've been
in the middle
doing
of town.
research on, Main Street,
cause
downtown.
I didn't see that under itty bitty.
No. It was in
Downtown
Joe's
lighting.
section, but not. Okay. Other suggestions? Rod?
I thought the Legion was gonna put something in about canning.
Oh, yeah, I thought they did, I thought we did.
I had heard rumors, but nothing ever popped up.
Oh, okay.
Which I don't-
I'm sorry, you're right. I thought that was done. Sorry, and I didn't pick up on it, it was gone.
So there was thought that the Legion would recommend having the cannon rehabbed, having this concrete base redone and
Yeah.
probably paint it, do some rehab to the cannon as well. The board would like to put that as an option.
What do you think? Cost-wise?
I think it should be put on.
Cost line, I've had a very difficult time getting costs from, the contractors that were, they're more than willing to do it, they're more than
Yeah.
willing to donate a lot of time to it. But I think they're deathly afraid of saying what it's gonna cost, without, but it's the whole process. Pick the cannon up, set it aside, take the two granite pieces, set them
Yeah.
aside, put a new foundation in, and put it back together, so. I would
Put it in a
guess,
time capsule. Can we put in a time capsule? When we
Sure.
put the can, okay. I love those things.
We've talked enough about it, where it sounds like we'll just put a Legion down here and Cannon Rehab.
Yeah,
Now,
we'll just
let's
leave it.
capture it. We've talked about enough, well, let's capture it. We don't have,
Yeah,
if that
it,
works for you.
it was, the Legion was very much in favor of it. I'm sorry that it didn't get formally put in, but that's absolutely true. Thanks, Marie.
I put that under historical, right? Historical
Yeah.
society.
I'm just making a separate list.
Mhm.
I'm just making a
Separately?
that's just so I catch everything, yeah.
Okay, other suggestions? Mike?
As far as the water department goes, like Aaron alluded to, we've had some issues recently. Our chemical storage tanks are still the original in there. The chemicals are now starting to seep through the plastic, fiberglass, whatever they're constructed of.
Yeah.
We've had to cut down our deliveries just so that they put extra pressure on them. So I think from the water department standpoint, that would be a number one priority to get those fixed. They were installed with the building finished being built around them. There's no way to get them out even without cutting them all up. So we would have to, get smaller tanks, but I've gotten some quotes and estimates that I've given Joe. You're looking at maybe $22,000 for 4 600-gallon double-walled tanks. So, you're looking at a small fee, but it will save a lot of headaches for everybody in the future.
What's the life, like when I think of ARPA funding, I try to look for one-time spending that wouldn't be year-over-year maintenance that should be in a budget. You put these new tanks in, what's about the life of the, and I don't mean to put, just a ballpark.
I mean, of course, all materials are different today than they were before,
Mhm.
and they can't guarantee how long they're gonna last, but the ones that were in there had a shelf life of 25 years.
That's, okay,
They're
so
now
it's
40 years.
good, that's
I
good to
mean,
know.
There's a shelf life no matter what you look at, and every department here can tell you that,
Okay.
things just wear out, just like they do at home.
Okay,
You know, you just have to replace them, but sometimes it's, looking down the road, it's better to do it now than it is when you have to call hazmat and the federal government because you got 1,000 gallons of hot caustic soda on the ground.
Okay, other,
Or just, the only thing, DPW said, so it goes back to water again as well. The only one that would be possibly time sensitive for a decision, would be the Main Street Prospect water line replacement. What we're really looking to do is, as a whole, get that water line replaced before the 2024 paving project comes through from the state. We don't wanna be the guys that the year after we put it in the ground are digging it up to either replace it or start patching it again, so. We did, submit a priority list, funding, request last week before, into the state to be on, hopefully, the priority list for funding from the state level, for a bond for it. But if we can't do that, or if we decide we wanna pay it for it from ARPA funds, that's the only one that Joe and I will probably be coming back to you sooner, again and again, trying to get a plan to get this project accomplished sooner than later.
other suggestions? Okay, for the board, how do you want to go through these and kind of prioritize, and do we have criteria, Joe?
No, but I was gonna ask, but I have a wild suggestion.
Go for it.
And I got legal opinion on it. So it's, so I think this would help the water plant, in particular. We had the idea of, bottling Fairhaven water. People prefer bottled water for some reason over the tap water. And weirdly enough, a lot of the water that you drink out of a bottle actually comes from, a tap from somewhere outside of Vermont. A water bottling plant would cost less than $300,000 to purchase. We could start bottling Fairhaven water and selling it in the region. Legal said that there is precedent for this, and other towns sell water. Rutland Town researched bottling their water, but they backed off for some reason.
We could sell it
The
as
city.
Mr. Inman's pond water.
So it is a viable option. It is a legal option. As long as we use that money, the proceeds to maintain our water plant, our distribution and plant system. Might be a good revenue source. And I would love to be able to tell the town of Fairhaven that your water bill is zero today.
Right, your water, if that would do something to bring water and sewer rates down, that would be a home run.
What'd you say, 320?
Less than 300. I've got quotes for installation, for the equipment, installation, filters, bottling system.
How many people would it employ?
2 or 3. We'd have to hire some staff, but minimum staff,
No, but I mean, that's
people that can work
people that can work. Where would it go?
right at the water plant. Congratulations, Mike.
Thanks, Joe. Well, I heard about this before now.
Yeah, no, that's my MO.
Say, we're gonna work for us.
Right next to the old chemical tanks.
Yeah, the leaky chemical tank.
You have a new title.
Neil?
Yeah, just a historical comment back when we had the big brouhaha about the petition that I was part of, trying to find out what we could do about water rates. And Wayne Elliott came in. You guys know he's a guru, whatever. And he, of course, came up with, the figure said, you guys just aren't using enough water. And he recommended specifically, you need to get something like a water bottling plant. Now, here we are talking about it. And of course, exponentially, water is ungodly. Amount of water is being sold in this country on every feasible drink you can think of. And I know for a fact that there are companies, haulers for Poland Springs water, which comes out of Maine, are pulling it from there, driving all the way to Syracuse. So think about that one. Now, wouldn't it be a hell of a lot closer to Syracuse if it was in Fairhaven?
Well, it's selling timber to the
You know, I mean, and I'm sure those guys don't enjoy that drive. And a lot of them are live here, this area, and they go up to, I can't imagine driving an 18-wheeler, you know. That's what they do for a living, so. There's no question, thank God we don't live in the West. We're sitting on probably the most valuable resource we have in this state. Just wanted to throw that in because
Yeah.
And I
it's
will
just
throw
the
in
right
also,
time, the right place, and all, it just fits. Thank God for water.
Go ahead, Mike.
and I will throw in also that Fairhaven, I know we say it a lot, and I don't know whether everybody believes this or not, but Fairhaven has very good water.
Yeah.
I mean, our raw water coming straight from the pond is better than some towns' finished water after it's left the plant. And it's very consistent. I mean, we're not fluctuating a whole lot from summer to winter. There is a little bit of fluctuation there, but I mean, our water is very consistent and very consistently good. And I just, you know, it would be a minimum expense to continue forward looking into this. You know, there wouldn't need to be a whole lot of filtration and all this and that added to what we already have. Maybe just looking into increasing the gallons per day that we could produce.
Good.
You asked the question, you know, we should talking again about what is the board like? And let me recalibrate myself. I thought our intent was to make sure, talk about this list, make sure we have, not to make any decisions tonight.
No decisions, but.
I envision, it's more of a question, Joe, for you, that I would think one of the next steps would be come up with some kind of rubric that says, okay, we got all these, and let's whether, you know, with a weighting system that says things that are this, and this get a 5 or whatever, and weight them so that you can look at it. So it's sometimes we make our decisions with our hearts versus looking at where we are. My understanding was we have plenty of time to spend the money. There's a few metrics that we have that says, are you having meetings like this? Are you, what's your potential project list look like? But I think we've got some great stuff and good discussion tonight. I would be looking to see if we can come up with some kind of pass and.
Didn't you guys put together some sort of a matrix?
For our capital
For
spending.
capital, that seems like.
That we
it would
might
work.
be appropriate to come, absolutely, and then we go off, do that kind of work, and you don't have to do it all in one information meeting. We put it on the agenda, we have another meeting, say, here's where we are, here's the rubric, let's talk about it, do we agree, disagree, and start refining the thing down. Because there's, my understanding, you have, what, 5 years to
We had
To-
till
to-
2026 to spend it.
commit,
That was my next question was, how long we had to-
this thing, so,
Did
I
we
think,
already get the money?
we have half of it, I think, right?
No, we have all of
We
it.
have all of it now.
Yeah,
So-
it was two tranches.
Well, don't put it in the stock market, Rick.
Don't put buying bitcoins. Right?
Unless you're buying fuel
Yeah.
So
stuff.
Joe, we have to have one more public hearing, or that's what we were planning, is to have 2 public hearings. Get feedback, and then I think a scoring rubric would be the kind of rank them.
The other thing that I think we should be aware of too, is there's gonna be infrastructure money, and that maybe some of this can be pulled in anticipation of infrastructure money that is coming. I mean, what our cut of that is gonna be is not, there yet, but so that should be part of the matrix, or the rubric, whatever you're gonna call it. But
would you pass this out to the public and with a number system to see what they feel?
Can they score it?
1 for
Yeah.
5 and, or go down through and
why
see?
not? Put it on the
I
website.
mean, that way there,
Post it on Facebook, put it on the website,
Yeah,
ask
yeah.
for some suggestions and
Yeah,
how people
you-
think.
Tell people they can come here if they wanna do a hand.
You could do a survey and rank
Yeah.
different ones.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to mention, I'll be giving Joe the, weighting system that, Rutland used for, determining exactly what you guys are trying to. They were dealing with something like 26 different suggestions, and what,
Yeah.
Devin, Leary went out and he went to surrounding towns and came up with a program that you guys, you know, would be more than welcome, I would think, to at least look at it. It is a weighted program. And it's kind of interesting, you know, looking at it. I've got the article on it that at least to give you a starting point instead of trying to recreate the wheel, if you will.
Okay. All right, any further
I'll get that to you this week, Joe.
further discussion? We're gonna have one more public hearing. Joe's gonna try to put some kind of scoring method, rubric, whatever you wanna call it, together, and we can review that at the next public, hearing on it and go from there. Okay? Thanks, everybody, for coming to share your thoughts. Next item we have is the salt shed discussion. This has kind of been an ongoing since I think Jay and Bob were on the board, and it's still ongoing. So Joe, do you want to give kind of an update and kind of some of the changes that have come along?
Sure. More good news from the salt shed front, thank goodness. I got another, so the state backpedaled on what we could and could not use for a salt shed. Originally, we had used this engineered system that was had a snow load and wind load and.
Hold on just a
I
second.
think we'll wait until we get.
All right, go ahead, Jim.
So, you know, a weighted, rated snow load, wind load, and all of those engineering things. When we spoke to the state a couple weeks ago, they backpedaled hard. They said, whatever works for you. They said, just make sure the engineer says it's what you need. So the engineer is now working on that RFP again. He pulled together the design. We're gonna use waste blocks instead of the expensive $500 concrete blocks. We use the blocks, they're like $40.
A little more, yeah.
Yeah, whatever they are.
Jersey barriers.
Jersey barriers. I did get a quote from a second tarp company, and that was only 61,000. This is just budget numbers. So the numbers we have now fall in line with what we were expecting them to fall in line to 2 years ago. A little bit more now because of time and engineering, but
Is it still the same size as we talked about before, so we put the salt and sand in there?
smaller. It's, what size are we at now?
42 by 60,
Yeah, 42 by 60.
for about half the size of the original.
Yeah. If we went to the original big size, it would be over budget. This way we'll be under budget, but there's really not a lot of wiggle room.
I suppose you can always put another one up later, at a later time if you want it for sand.
Yeah. So I do have the engineer working on that. We'll pass the RFP off to the state because they have to approve it. But that's going forward. We're hoping to get this done. I'm gonna say at the end of the year, but my timelines are always wonky now, so forgive me if it's wrong. But that's where the engineer was.
We talked some about, even though we put the size down to smaller, that 40 by 60, put that, all the stuff we took, the milling off put the whole pad down as if you had so it's there when we do get the opportunity, if we do get an opportunity to put sand.
How long, 60 foot? 60 foot reach?
The pads originally, we were originally calling for a 75 by 80. So hopefully when we come down to the full thing, we'll be able to throw another smaller tarp system up next to that one. And if we have to refangle, sand goes in the big one, salt goes in the little one, or however the system works out better for us at that point.
I wonder if there'd be any 60 foot, per 30, it'd only give you 30 feet of storage. I was gonna say cut it in the middle just to put, so you have some dry sand in the back, but, you know, leave both, cause both ends are open, right?
The plans call for a closed end.
Close in on one end, okay, okay.
And Joe, what were we getting back for pricing on the full-blown engineered that the state was requiring up until?
Originally, the bids came back at over 600,000.
Oh, yeah, more than half.
It was a ridiculous.
Outrageous price.
When we started this process years ago, it was, we looked to towns that had done this almost identical project, and they were up 150, 200,000, which is what we budgeted for. And the numbers that we were getting were just mind-blowing. 600,000 that's ridiculous. That's a town garage
So
for that much money.
if the money's already budgeted.
No, it isn't.
It's not budgeted.
No.
Anyway, the money's budgeted already for this project.
It's all grant funded. The town of Fairhaven pays nothing.
So what's gonna take such a long period of time to get it put up? If the money's here, and we just have to, prepare the area and put the building up.
Sure. Now, so the environmental has all been done on this. Now we're just waiting on the state to say, yes, that paperwork is correct. Yes, that RFP is correct. Yes, send it out.
It'd be nice because if it was up, we might be able to cut some money back on our salt because we have a bigger place to store it. I mean, to me, that was the object of putting up the salt shed to begin with, so we could get a larger amount at a time.
And the contractor has availability in their schedule?
The two I talked to, the gentleman that's supposed to do the quotes we got for, budget numbers we got for dirt work, I don't know what that looks like. We're gonna have to release and see what we get.
Why can't we do the dirt work? We have all the equipment.
We do, the state, they just, for some reason, they absolutely hate it when towns do this. We have to get special exemption for the town to do their own work. I know.
I go back to telling the state, if too many strings attached, keep your money. We will use the other one, and because then there's nothing stopping us from doing our own work and doing it at a decent.
Except we don't have the money.
The only thing I say about doing our own work is, in some cases, that's a great idea, but in other cases, we have tons of maintenance issues along the roads already that we need to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
And these guys are only human beings, they can only do so much in one day. And, I think we should use them where they're needed the most.
Don't disagree.
But in general, we're moving forward, you and Aaron
get
are
it- to
on
get it
top of it, and
Yeah.
you'll bring more back when.
So we might be a little quiet from here for a couple weeks to wait and see what the state says about the bid, but
Okay.
it's moving.
Any other questions on that? Water allocation approval.
The gentleman, he did not turn in his final request, so that one needs to be postponed. Yeah, he didn't get the final signatures he needed from the landowner.
So we'll table that. Town clerk, we're tabling. Meeting with, yeah, she requested that
Okay.
it be postponed to the next meeting. Appointment of treasurer.
So I did have a request to be, somebody requested some information about being a treasurer, so I put this on here.
Yeah.
That young lady decided she didn't want the job. She applied for the accountant job instead. Yeah, so that one is also,
But we're covered right now.
right now, the accountant, Eileen and accounts receivable and myself have kind of split up the duties, so we're covering for the treasurer. I did reach out to VLCT to ask them what that looks like legally. And we need to find a treasurer, they were adamant about that. But there's no time limit. The board just has to keep trying until somebody fills the spot.
So who's signing the checks? That's my question.
We're moving down to D, we'll find out soon.
Okay.
Okay, so we're still actively looking though for a treasurer. If anybody knows of any leads, let the,
Do we have anything
Town manager
else
know?
saying in a paper or anywhere?
Oh,
Are we doing the active looking? How are we
yeah.
doing that?
We're, so it is posted on Facebook, which is my number one go-to. And we've had 2 hits on it. I have another young lady that's gonna call. And word of mouth as well, just in PEG TV, you know, if somebody knows somebody, please, come on down. It's not much of a lift.
I didn't hear who is signing the checks.
we haven't made that decision yet, cause that's the next agenda item.
Yep.
Okay, so thank you, Joe, for working on that. Anybody knows of anybody interested in treasurer, maybe Rod?
No? Thanks, Rod.
What are the details?
Yeah, talk to Joe, I'm not.
Here, come talk to me. You would sign checks, balance the checkbook. Transfer money,
That's,
very easy.
that's right up my alley.
Second,
Alright, so the next item is appointing an authorized signer for the town account. And this is because we don't have a treasurer.
this is because we currently don't have a treasurer. And so we have a form, that the chair needs to sign. We're requesting that you appoint myself, as the person to sign the checks just for now, until we do find a treasurer. Right now, Jenny and Eileen, Jenny will input, Eileen will release, data to the bank, but we need to be able to break up who signs the checks, who puts things in, and who releases to the bank, so that way there's a nice, separation of duties.
Did we check with the Vermont League of City and Towns to make sure you can be the signer? I just don't know if, is there what,
So this is, yes, so for VLCT, we need to find an accountant, and I can fill in, but we do need to find an accountant. For the bank, this is the bank's formality to make sure that, it'd be like Rod allowing his son to sign a check for somebody. It's a bank regulation at this point.
I'm surprised he didn't ask for 2 signatures.
I am too. I was just gonna mention
On the
that.
check.
I'll suggest that they do two signatures.
No, I'm just saying, I'm surprised in this situation that the bank didn't request that. You know.
Well, the separation of duties is, like, I can't sign a check and just go cash it. Like, Jenny has to upload it, Eileen has to release it, and then I would sign it. So there's no way for one person to,
Okay, how would that work with your paycheck?
so I'd sign my paycheck.
Okay, I didn't know, I'm just asking
and
questions.
that was the reason my question was saying, wait a minute, No, even the appearance of impropriety is something you should stay totally away from. So for that reason, I'm not sure that you should be the signer.
Who should be?
Can we assign the clerk, the board clerk?
It could be,
Well, I would think that might be a better situation.
Hey, that's great.
You know, because that would separate it from our management part of it, and I don't think that's a bad idea.
Would you be willing, Glenn, to?
I was so afraid, so when you say something, you get, I'm learning all the time, Ron, about how the job works.
But you don't get blank checks.
But I just, well, yeah, I, it doesn't go with my allowance, so, okay.
I will make a motion that we have the clerk, or our clerk sign the checks until
We get
we
a
get
trade.
a treasurer.
You're fine with that? Okay.
Yep.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Motion by,
Jay.
getting late already. Motion by Jay, seconded by Bob to authorize the select board clerk to be the signer for the town of Fairhaven until a permanent treasurer is appointed. Is that?
Sounds good to me.
That was seconded by Bob. Questions on that? No? Okay. All in favor? Yeah, motion carries.
So the paperwork says Joe Gunter. I'll get some different paperwork and if
It just, you know, it just that, as
I'm
Glenn
with you.
was saying, it just,
I would agree.
you know, you always get somebody that's gonna say something because you are the manager.
Yep.
And, you know, and you're gonna be into the checking account and signing checks and stuff. And it's nothing, you know, I think this is a better way. I think it's more, this is an awful way to say it, but I think it's more cleaner. Let's put it that way.
Can you do it as the clerk?
I'm sure you can, that's fine. As the trouble now rests, I have a bunch of checks in my office that need to be signed for tomorrow. I'll get the paperwork in the morning. Can you sign very quickly sometime tomorrow, and then we'll get Glenn
To
signed
sign the
up.
checks?
Yeah,
You just have
So
to.
we just have to do it
just
in the
have to
morning.
Notify the bank again, right?
yeah, we just have to call the bank again.
And they got the motion and where it's been accepted by the board, so we should be fine.
Yep.
Just give me a buzz and
All right, well, thank you, Glenn, for taking that on.
And then also, as part of that, we needed the board to approve in public session that Jenny Bertram has become the administrator of the account until a new treasurer is appointed.
Need a motion or
Yeah, please.
so move?
Second.
Motion by Bob, seconded by Jay to authorize our town accountant as the or the administrator of the town account. Is that how you want it, Joe? Is that the,
That's perfect.
okay, discussion on that motion? No? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Alright.
Motion carries. All set?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Parking lot items. I know we talked about meter changes. Adam Street Bridge replacements ongoing. Glenn?
I mean, we know we took, and it's really for our new board members that we took and sent a letter to the Secretary of V-Trans saying how we'd like some help and with the Adam Street Bridge.
Yep.
And a response came back from one of the chief engineers that works in that department, and when I read it, I'm going, okay, it sounded like they thought the plan was do nothing, and then when you had to do something, put a pedestrian. So there seems to be a little
Disconnect.
miscommunication, but I look at that, and the last part of it, this person made it sound like it's not going to be easy to get funding to replace the Adam Street Bridge. In the last paragraph, granted, they just said they couldn't guarantee the agency funding the Adam Street Bridge at this point. And with the huge amount of infrastructure, Build Back Better money and everything, if the Adam Street Bridge doesn't get approved in this round of money, we will never get money for the Adam Street Bridge, because there's more money and they're doing more there, so, I know that Joe's doing a good job of going to the Transportation Committee, meetings and letting them know, but, I think there might have been some, that they didn't get the full, until recently, the full sense of urgency on this. And it,
They had already guaranteed 90,000. Is that off the table?
oh, it's not off the table if it gets to them, but what
I mean,
they,
90,000 is a drop in the bucket, I
What-
get that, but.
what they were saying, it's more of the process of, it's gotta get out of the Transportation Committee and Rutland Regional Planning Commission before it even gets on a list, to be considered. All the right timing is happening right now. I just wanted to double check, with this board, because I looked back and saw that in June 9th, 2015, when the public hearing on the Adams Street Bridge was done, clear message came, South Side was very concerned that they didn't have a vehicle traffic going across Adams Street Bridge, and the decision was made to go with alternative 4, which is replace the bridge. So I was surprised reading the email that read like, we went with the consultant's recommendation. I'm going, wait a minute, somewhere we're not on the same sheet. I think it's good. I mean, they responded to their, I've got to give the secretary credit. This is a pretty quick response to a letter we just sent out, but it's,
Weren't you thinking that a letter should go back to them stating that it was never a dead issue, we always wanted to replace it?
my initial reaction was of course, hey, wait just a minute. But these are also people I would like their support and help, and and getting, it's very important, and then, to get on this, because I believe they're gonna accept more than the top bridge. What they're saying is, of all the bridges that need to be done in Rutland County, are we the top bridge? I just wanted
I guess we gotta just keep plugging.
I think at this stage right here, I was going to, because they sent, this email went out to our 2 representatives. I'm a little red-faced that I had conversations with one of our representatives and a conference call, and when they're getting this, seeing, it looks like town of Fairhaven only wanted to do nothing and put a pedestrian bridge in. So I'll go back and touch base with them and let them know that's not the case at all. But I just didn't want to do it without the rest of the board saying, yeah, continue pushing the Adams Street
Have you
Bridge.
talked to Cindy Adams too? Is she pushing on her end?
Cindy is on the Transportation
Yeah.
Committee.
Joe is helping her push on her end.
Help.
Please.
In my opinion, it's a very important project.
I think it is too.
If that other bridge goes down on the main drag, we're pretty much screwed here in Fairhaven. The south side is very dependent on that.
Absolutely, okay. That's.
No, I would push forward, yeah.
Okay.
Anything else on parking lot, or anything else we wanna add to the parking lot?
I can speak real quickly to the zoning regs.
Yeah.
What we've been doing for the last better part of a year is going back in history and making sure all the motions to change regulations were actually put in the regulations.
Yeah.
So, in most cases they were, it's just that they never really, it was very haphazard. So what we have now are about, everybody's working from a different copy of the zoning regs, which is not real good news. So we're putting together, we are at the point now of going through the Rutland Regional suggestions, and that's the last part of it. So we should be done realistically by the end of April. We should have a clean copy. Everybody will be working on a Word document that we can adjust and, immediately. Deb's doing a really good job with that. So we should, without being too optimistic, I think by the end of April, we should have something to present to you guys. About the only thing that will stir any controversy at all is Rutland Regional's suggestion that in the Fairhaven Compact is to lighten up on some of the side and rear setbacks, and even front setbacks, but mostly side and rear. And the other one that could probably give some controversy too is the amount of percentage of land coverage on a lot. Right now it's 30%. They suggest that that's pretty strict, particularly in small lots like in downtown Fairhaven, and you know this part, particularly this part and the south side where it's close. You know, and I remember Phil coming in here occasionally, and somebody wants to put a little side porch on, and they can't because they're too close to their neighbor. So that's probably the most controversy you're going to see from it. And it you know, if it's 30 feet, maybe bring it back to 20 feet. If it's you know, 30%, maybe make it 40%. You know, who knows? But those are the only things we haven't attacked yet. So, but they're getting close. Getting real close.
Bob, do you think with the medical, or the, not medical, marijuana dispensary, any of that will have to be worked in?
We
zoning or
we
not?
talked about that a little bit, and you know, well, there was a discussion at the town meeting, I mean, and it makes sense to maybe say that you can have a medical marijuana dispensary right next to the school, although maybe the teachers could use it after a couple days, but.
Oh, maybe next to a daycare might not take a.
Yeah, you know, daycares, that kind of thing like that,
Alright.
you know, but I suspect a dispensary like that would wanna be in downtown and only downtown. But anyways,
Alright,
yeah.
thanks, Bob. Other items? Anything we wanna add? As we get going, maybe we can add some items in there. I know the salt shed was potential to go back in there, but see how that update comes. Okay. Board roundtable. Wait for board roundtable. Rich?
No, I'm learning tonight, so I'm
Alright.
basically observing
Okay.
everything.
Perfect. Jay?
Two things, on the public works, we gotta step up the pace here with patching roads. That 4th Street was ridiculous, it went so long before we got it done. I mean, I came in here at least twice with it in 2 weeks, and the holes kept getting worse and worse and worse. You gotta light the fire under these guys and get them going. I mean, it reflects onto you. That's what happens. You know, we have a foreman down there. What's he doing? I mean, come on, let's get this work done. I called one day about why aren't you using a hot box? That's the object of buying the hot box, because it makes using coal patch a lot easier, because it's warm and it goes in the holes and it also settles in the hole better. And my response I got was, we haven't had time. You know, so I just think we gotta step up the pace a little bit on these guys. Light a fire under them and get them, no brushes being cut. That's 3/4 of the trouble at Scotch Hill. I took a ride down Scotch Hill. There's probably half to 3/4 of a mile that's bad that really needs to be taken care of. The rest of it needs ditching. I'm not saying the road doesn't need paving, but we go right back to the same thing. You gotta fix everything before you start paving. Just like 4th Street. It's ridiculous to go up there and pave 4th Street unless you grind it. To get rid of all that stuff, all the stuff that's broke up. I'm not saying go down to dirt, but you gotta take a couple inches off it. It also will take care of the water runoff if we keep everything the same height. And I think that's very important. So that's, you know, not trying to pick on you the first meeting, don't get me wrong. But I just wanted to bring that up, okay? And the other thing, I have a quick question on Mr. Harryway or whatever the hell his name is. Do we have to get a vault to put that in?
No, we'll just stick them in the dirt.
They're just going,
Yeah, we're just,
Dig a 4
we're just
foot
gonna,
one, dig a 4 foot
it's a
one.
natural.
earth to earth, dust to dust, and all that stuff, right? Okay, that's all I got.
Okay.
The broadband CUD board, have we made an appointment to that yet?
No, but that's coming up at the next meeting. I do have a potential representative.
We're the only ones without a representative.
Yep.
And that will be helpful.
If we don't get on that board, then other towns will get everything done
Yes,
before we won't.
Two more things. I just want to poll, talked about hydro earlier, and is there any stomach to do first right of refusal? Search, I mean, we have to obviously.
Who owns it right now?
Josh Markey.
Okay. Well, does the town have, are you wanting the town to have first right of
Yes.
refusal?
Yes.
What's wrong with it? I mean, if we don't want it, we don't have to take it.
Right.
But if we at least had the chance before someone else dropped in.
I think transparency wise, it will cost us money to get that. I'm sure of it. I mean, I wouldn't do it for
As I've said before, I'm not sure, I hear all the feasibility things. I'm not for spending any more money on hydro that even though there's all kinds of infrastructure money and everything, if you go back and look at the river flows and the last thing that, when I've looked at what it was, when low water, we wouldn't even have water.
You're on.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying.
You're just playing around.
I'm just saying, if you're looking for where I stand as a select board
Yeah, I know.
I don't support the
Well,
continuing
you
to
don't have
have
the
money.
right facts. You're dead wrong.
I
Read
know.
the study again. We would be making power almost all the time.
You asked the question
Yeah, no,
of what
but you're
whether I
using
support it or
fact.
not, I don't.
You're using
That's-
facts that aren't correct.
I'm just giving you an answer.
I know, but it's.
So I support the project, but as you know, I have a conflict with my
Yeah.
brother-in-law owning the property down there.
Yeah, I
So
get
really,
that.
it'd be,
But
But what would you have to do to get this
you'd have to negotiate with the landowner some
first to see
some
if,
fee
yeah.
yeah,
for the right of first refusal.
right. So we would have the right of first refusal to be descended.
Well,
If we don't have that property, it's a done deal anyways.
well, what's wrong with just asking if he'd be interested in doing that? We don't have to go through with it, but you can ask
I don't think there's any
just to
wrong.
see if he would be
Yeah,
Yeah,
I-
no problem.
interested in it. That's-
No money involved, that'd be no problem, Jay.
Right, yeah, that's what I'm saying. All it takes
Can't be
is
so
just,
short-sighted.
just a question and ask him, would you be interested or give us the rights of first refusal?
I can give him a call and just see how he
Yeah.
feels.
Just,
Okay,
that's all,
yeah,
that's
just
all
see,
you have to do.
and
And
see
then,
if he's got any kind of number, then at least we're not arguing over,
Yeah, something we,
something we don't
yeah,
know.
I mean, if he might not even wanna do it. So,
Yeah.
who knows?
You had one more, you said?
Yeah, I had one more, the Bombazine watershed is part of the watershed, Bombazine is an important part of the watershed. And I think, I would like us to consider sending a letter of support for the people that are trying not to allow the insecticide or whatever. So whatever that stuff is that they're putting in, my way of thinking is this watershed affects Fairhaven. It comes right through here. And, it doesn't make any sense for us, well, at least we should make a stand whether it's for or against. You know, but I think we should make sure that we're heard and we're an interested party, so I'd like us to, and mine would be again poisoning it, but, I'd be willing to hear that conversation. I'd like to have that put on the board, on the thing, so we
I
can.
think they,
the agenda.
I think they abolished that idea this week, didn't they?
Probably have it, they didn't get a real hold.
Sounds like they
But I think we should,
give up on it.
yeah, I think we should, just make sure that we're part of it.
This one, I agree with you 100%. I'm with you, Bob.
1 out of 2, ain't bad.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
There was an article in the paper about how much more harvesting you're gonna do this year. That was in the paper last week,
Good, I need it for
or
my
this
garden.
week, or whatever, but they're gonna do a bigger area, so.
Does the board want town manager to draft a letter and put it on the agenda for the next meeting or not?
I would, I don't know about anybody else.
Is it still an issue, or did
I
this?
think it's not something we should let go. Because the Lake
It is not
Bombazine
now, but it could be.
Bombazine Association has taken a lot of, they're kind of taking a lot, that, like, non-governmental authority that they don't seem to have, I wouldn't say.
They had some pretty good, we had Representative Canfield there, and they had some, Cheryl Hooker, and some other folks. I think a letter that we send up, because I'm not so sure Montpelier's couldn't put something
Right.
together to stop that altogether, so it's worth talking about.
Yeah, let's put it on the agenda and see.
So Joe, why don't you draft a draft letter and then, put it on the agenda for?
If you need any input or any facts and figures, Mike Stannard is the go-to person.
Do you have Mike's phone number by chance? that you can share?
I do. You do. Cuz has got it.
All right, anything else for roundtable?
I got one thing, even though I said I had nothing.
That's fine, go ahead.
In rebuttal to what Jay was saying about Fourth Street up there. Yes, it had some holes. And he spoke about grinding down the roadway and repaving, but what I see is the problem is, a lot of the road edges, the shoulders and up into the sidewalk and the trees and the people's lawns, it's quite a lot higher in the road. And the water runs out into the road. So the road's actually the ditch. And until those things are addressed, I don't think grinding down is the answer until we address those things.
Yeah, well,
You know what I'm saying?
yep.
So, my point is, let's try to address some of the stuff that's the real problem. Maybe if we do less and do it right, it would be better. It would help our road crews out quite a lot, because they wouldn't have to patch it all the while. They wouldn't have to spread unnecessary salt when the water is running in the road and iced in. That would save us in the long run also. It's just little things like that that we need to look at. Very much. And I just got one comment on the water dam, the hydro. I've kind of been involved with that for quite a few years. And I worked in the hydro wheels and break the trash racks and all that stuff to keep the water flowing. That's a lot of work, a ton of work. And there's gonna be a fair amount of workforce that's gonna be tied up doing that work. So that's just something to consider when you're talking about that.
I think it was included in the.
There was a proposal, I think there was 3 people, there's like a 3-man,
Yeah.
3-person, workforce. But I mean, the whole building of it it's an expense, and it would be, and I'm not particularly sure that at the end of it, it will be feasible, but I don't
Yeah,
think
that's
we're at the point where the townspeople really think it's valuable, and it is. And I think we can make it work, it's just at some point, we're gonna have to make an executive decision. I don't think we're there yet.
I think everybody needs to know all the facts.
Oh, sure.
Every
Oh, yeah.
one of the facts, every one of the nuts and bolts of it.
Yeah.
Just to know where the dollars are, or not.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, I know it's still slightly pie in the sky, but it's doable, and we have an engineering study that says we can, and, that we can do it, and we can make money, and the payback is in the 26-year period, but it's doable. It's just whether we have the stomach to spend that money to begin.
Okay.
One board member doesn't.
I didn't mean to come on so strong, but it's,
No, that's fine.
We know where you stand.
Me too.
That's fine. Review of finance reports, expenditure,
Yes.
revenue. Do we have a payroll and a general fund, warrant?
Sure, I'll make the motion to, approve the payroll for $34,399.71.
Is there a second?
Second.
Geez, I can't remember names tonight.
Glenn.
Glenn made the motion, seconded by Jay to authorize payroll, $34,399.71. Questions on that? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries.
I'll make the motion to pay the warrants for $723,614.49. There was a school
budget of
payment
500 and
and,
something thousand.
and there was something else. I think it's in that little Post-it note.
Two on there, I think.
No, there was,
Quarterly payment. School deposit was $526,861, and the quarterly payments were $72,505.
and I don't know the,
So that was
oh, wait a minute.
motion by Glenn, seconded by, is it you, Jay?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, for general fund, 723, 614, I didn't get the cents, 49 cents. Questions on that motion? No, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, that motion carries.
And the checkbook status, because Joe just bailed me out, here is $848,057.45.
45 cents left, and we're done.
So this is that after the school payments been, no, that was
That's after the payment.
after the payment.
Yeah, we got a lot of grant bond money that's come sitting, that's, yeah. There's, due to froms is 740,000, so there's money going out.
Then we had an executive session for a couple items. Glenn, do you
Sure,
want-
I'll make a motion, we go into executive session for attorney-client communication, 1 VSA 313A1. And I'd like to do both of them at once if I could.
What,
And to go in for discussion of the MOU discussion on 1 VSA 313A3.
okay, is there a second? Motion by Glenn, seconded by Jay. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries.